No.
And we are live with WTF Friday on the Nerf Herder Council. What's up, Joseph Wren? How you doing tonight?
I am so nerdy, I've decided to take over the stream as the predominant source. I know you're going to be building an ATST tonight, but I figure for right now, it's all about me. I know it's about you, but it's about me.
Now, you need more exposure anyway. You've got a couple of podcasts of your own, don't you?
Oh, yeah. You know, we talk about metal on discussmetal.com. We talk about bands' discographies on Discography Discussion. So, yeah, I mean, everybody should be checking out all the podcasts at discussmetal.com. If my co-host was here, he would tell you to subscribe to his YouTube channel. But I want you to subscribe to this YouTube channel right now. Do it. If you want to do me a favor, come over to my Discord server. You know, discord.discussmetal.com. There's links to all my stuff on my website. AJ, how's it going? How was Celebration? I need to know. Did you get to ride the... Wait, I'm not supposed to bring that up on this show, am I?
I didn't ride it like a panther. No, I did not. I didn't get to do any of that fun stuff.
Oh, come on.
No, I had a hell of a trip. But look, we just did a Wednesday show that was all about our travel log and what we did for Celebration and all of our vacation stories that no one really cares about. So we're also going to bore the masses with another episode about the actual news from Celebration coming up on another main episode of Nerf Herder Council. So tonight is not going to be about any of that stuff unless someone brings it up in the chat, because otherwise we are going to be talking about what is not at Star Wars Celebration and what was missing, because I think that there's some conspicuous absences in what we would have expected to see there.
So what do you think was really missing?
Well, we'll get into that, but I want to catch everybody up. We're doing a WTF Friday chill build. So for those of you who aren't familiar with that, what that is we have a not Lego kit. So we got a clone brand of Lego, and we have a fan-designed thing to build. So this is not Lego that we're building, and it's not Lego who designed it. We're going to put the instructions up on the screen, and we are going to have a conversation about whatever you guys want to talk about while we go ahead and build live on camera. We're going to bring in a third camera here in a minute when we start building, and you'll be able to see us putting everything together and follow along with the instructions, and then chime in the chat. We'll get the conversation going.
Us? Do you have names for both of your hands? Like, are you talking to Hansel and Gretel at this point?
I've got Jack Johnson and Tom O'Leary right here. You know that one? You know that one, Joe?
Appreciate that one. Yes. That. Well done, sir. Well done.
Look, I'm your friend out here.
At least somebody
God, I love
on
that
the
movie.
NHC
Anchorman is so good. By the way, if you're not drinking tonight, you're not doing it right.
I will do my best to start drinking shortly after I depart this wonderful show. Whether or not that happens sooner or later, well, that's up to you, isn't it?
I was going to say, we've got you part-time tonight, right? Don't you have somewhere else to be in a little while?
You've got me some part-time going here. I've got a normally scheduled discography discussion recording session that will be happening a little bit later on. But, I've got some free time. I've got some nerdy stuff on my mind. As always, you guys have nerdy stuff on your mind. So, we all need to hang out more. I realize there's a gap here, but the internet is a thing.
Yeah, right? No, man, June is just crazy. Like, I don't know when June became the big, TV premiere time, but you know how many shows have come back with new seasons, all of a sudden? It's crazy. You got to keep up on Kenobi. Orville came back with a new season. You've got Stranger Things that just dropped. What else is out there? New Star Trek, of course. So, I mean, there's 4 new shows right there that are coming on a weekly basis you got to follow up on, plus anything else you missed in the meantime. So, what are you watching these days?
I have been sneaking in the 4th season of Stranger Things, finally, and Kenobi is being released weekly, so I've been trying to keep up on that, and I'm really, really anxious to hear what you guys think about it. I don't think I'm going to get invited to the conversation, but as a spoiler for that upcoming conversation, I'm going to have to just leave this with you, and you can give this to John later if you'd like. Are you guys happy with episode 3.3 that you're getting? Because I have a feeling
it's amazing.
You guys are happier than anybody.
I think it's amazing. I didn't really have much expectations for it. And I think you enjoy something better when you don't hype it up too much in your mind. And so this thing is just blowing my mind week in, week out. I'm cool with all of it. Like, I'll get into more detail in the main show, but yeah, like, I think not needing a story in here means that anything they give me is going to be a surprise. But do you have any gripes about it, or are you just along for the ride so far?
I don't have gripes. I feel like you guys have prepared me to appreciate the creative decisions of the prequels more than I did on my own. There really isn't a lot wrong with those movies. They came out at a time when we tried this thing called computers, and everybody can make fun of that. There's reasons to make fun of those movies, don't get me wrong. But if you like the characters and the way those movies portrayed younger versions of Obi-Wan Kenobi, of Anakin Skywalker, there's something to be said for what that show is doing that even The Mandalorian or Book of Boba Fett did not do. And I'm happy that we're not just getting Obi-Wan Kenobi again on screen, but it's so cheesy, it's so prequels, it's just a diversion. Like, we thought we were going to get some big epic, like, he's watching Luke for 7 episodes. Nope. This is Star Wars,
What kind of show would
man.
that be?
Well, that's what I was expecting.
Show.
I heard you mention it, so I want to dig into it a little bit here. You said you're now a fan of Leia? Like, did Tiny Leia break through your brain, and now she's an awesome character?
Yeah, I never had a problem with Leia before, but she just wasn't one of the ones I really gravitated towards. But it's incredible how they got a girl who's, like 9 or 10 years old in this show. And she plays the part so perfectly with Carrie Fisher's version that I believe in the character. Like, there's just that through line from, like, when she was a kid all the way through adulthood and into, like, later life, that now I'm like, okay, this is a cohesive character and I'm into it.
That was the challenge, too, with what Carrie Fisher was doing. That's the only thing we have for Leia. I am interested to see them reverse engineer that character. Like, what did they tell that little girl to make her do what, let's be honest, the Leia that we know from episode 4, 5, and 6 would have done as a tiny child? And that's something, again, we're not done with that series yet, but I'm anxious to hear what you guys think about a story about Obi-Wan that just blatantly has the Skywalker twins in it.
Yeah,
it feels like a cop-out, a little bit.
I think they hooked me right off the bat because my first question was, what the hell kind of story are they going to tell that's going to be a good enough reason to get Obi-Wan off his ass and, out of the cave or off Tatooine? And when they're like, well, what about Leia? I'm like, oh shit, what about Leia? I never even thought of that as being a plot thread.
Well,
like,
all the interactions between the two of them. Like, can we talk about episode 3 for a second?
Sure.
Not the movie, the third episode of Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
So Hayden Christensen's back in the armor, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're doing the thing where he's chasing Obi-Wan, and he's not going to chase him to the desert planet with 2 sons, and not just figure out that those are his kids. Like, how are they going to get around Vader just figuring it out? Or is this going to be at the last moment of the series, you're going to have the spirit of Qui-Gon Jinn come out of nowhere and just take the memory from Anakin? You don't remember your children now. I'm anxious to see how they're going to handle that, because it seems like one of those things that should be right in front of his face, but that's all about the hatred, right? It's the hatred for Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Man,
consuming him.
That's the story. That is absolutely the story, that he is just basically screwing around doing stupid stuff because he's too blinded by his own rage. But you're right. It's dangerous territory. Like, they're either going to have to come up with a hell of an explanation or make it very obvious why those dots weren't connected. Because, yeah, it does seem a little sketch, especially when apparently people know that Vader was Anakin. Like, I thought that was like such a closely guarded secret, but.
Okay, McClage thinks that.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Luke is on Tatooine and Leia's in Organa. So they went after. It's so fun to say this plot thread out loud. Vader is looking for Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan doesn't know Vader is still alive, even though he didn't kill him at the end of episode 3. Spoilers for a movie that came out roughly 20 years ago, and for a story that you already know. And we're just we're going to send the Inquisitors after Obi-Wan. They are going to decide to steal one very specific senator's daughter. It's a fun way to get all the characters back in there, because that's really what I think fans of those movies wanted. I say those movies like I'm not a fan. I'm not the biggest fan of the prequels, but you guys have opened my eyes. There's more to it than just it's not episode 4.
Yeah, well, I did have to do a little bit of backtracking for myself too, because I was like, this does seem like they should be able to connect these pieces by now. But using Leia as bait was not because Reva knew that Leia was Anakin's daughter. Reva knows that Leia is Bail Organa's daughter, and
Yes.
Bail Organa is friends with Obi-Wan Kenobi. So even as far as Vader's concerned, it's just one of Kenobi's contact's kids, not his. That's really it. That's all I can come up with.
It's a fun series of events. It's just keeping that story going. Somehow we're going to get to Rogue One, and everything is going to be fine. The timeline nerd in my brain is saying this is something that's happening roughly 20 years before Rogue One.
10.
It's 10 years for sure? Okay.
9 or 10.
So what are they going to do with those 10 years? They could do
Hopefully
so
nothing.
many. So
Hopefully
many fun
nothing.
stories. Really, there's nothing to talk about outside of the Skywalkers, of course.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought you were talking about that, because I'm like, it was implied in A New Hope that it's been a long ass time since these characters have crossed paths, and 10 years is already kind of stretching things a little bit.
What's this? Cale McLeish says he wants, because Bail and Obi-Wan are supposed to have been friends during Clone Wars, so he's got your back on this one.
Yeah. Like the connection between Obi-Wan and Bail Organa is known, but Leia being Vader's daughter is not known. That's the thing, is I don't think Reva knows that she inadvertently kidnapped Vader's daughter. I think it was just a coincidence that she happened to nab the kid that, he sired.
Right.
Like, whoops.
Well, don't
All
forget
right, we got to get into this build, though, or we're never going to get this thing built. So let me
get into this thing, man.
All right. So, well, you're playing producer, so if you want to bring in our overhead cam,
Yeah, just let me just
build cam, as
take
it
care
were.
of that for you here.
So yeah, here's what we've got so far. We've got the entire head and I don't know, torso piece, you want to call this, of the ATST done. And it's been a month since we did this last. So we're gonna do a quick recap. We were trying to slam through the whole thing on the last show. That's why I put finale fingers crossed on the title of this episode. So we do have the legs started. So we've got some of them here, and we're building these in stereo. We're not going to build them one at a time like the instructions say. So that'll cut some time off of this. So we've got 2 containers of parts here. They're symmetrical, so I'm just going to dump them out here. We got a pile for the left leg, a pile for the right leg, and we can get building. Now, I'm going to go ahead and share the instructions. Who's going to get punted off the stream, Joe?
That's going to be me.
So you're just going to be the voice in the background?
I have no
I
problem.
think we
just
both
being a
are,
voice.
actually. I think we both are.
It's possible. Throw it up there. We made it work last time.
I thought you can only share one screen and one camera.
Yeah, just throw it up there. Here it goes.
Oh, there we go.
go.
We got all of it.
Yeah. You can
Okay,
just
so
drop it in there like that, right there.
yeah, so we'll do a quick recap here. So yeah, I don't read Chinese, so I can't tell you this, but these are the instructions that were given with the kit that I ordered off of AliExpress, and there's some part substitutions for these knockoff kits because these are fan designs, and then if the company doesn't have those parts, it's just like we're giving you something else, or tough shit, you're not getting anything. So that's what we got here, where we've got some color substitutions, or just plain you don't get these parts. I did go ahead and buy some of those parts, so we do have some of the ones that are supposed to be in the kit. But yeah, we'll keep the instructions up on the screen so you can follow along. This is another bit of a cheat. This is a stand that's going to sit under the whole thing when it's done being built, because this thing cannot actually stand on its own 2 legs. It's too damn heavy and too damn detailed, so they give you a stand. to basically like a chin rest for this thing. So we have gone through and we have built a whole bunch of stuff here. This is a fun little time lapse. I like doing this.
Right, that needs to be an animation.
So we got to here basically, and then we started building this torso piece. So we got this all built up. Yeah, see right here, it's like, yeah, you should have some skis under there for detailing, but nah, screw you. So I did not order those. So this is all built up, and now we are on to, let's see how far we got into these steps. So we're building up the legs. And again, this is supposed to be done twice. There's 330 steps in the whole thing, but I already built two of each of these. So what we've got here is, I think we are, if I look at this here, yeah, we're just about, yeah, we're just about there, I think. There we go. That's where we're at. We're at 213. So we're going to be at 214 here. We're going to start building.
This is the Lego Kids curse. I remember I got to some point on page 214, but was this the right page?
Exactly. This is why I have a problem setting anything down in mid-build, because then I'm like, where the hell did I get? At least with like paper books, you can be like, okay, I'm done with this bag. I'm done. Or I'm done with book 1. Put it down. This thing, who knows? Plus, it's been like a month. So good luck.
That was the WTF Wednesday that you threw in at the last second because Star Trek was the subject of the day. That might continue.
Yeah. And we were really trying to get this thing done before Celebration, right?
Right.
But there's just too much crap going on. So I'm going to start building this thing here. But while we're doing this, could you try to play around with the camera setup and see if we can get the instructions up on the screen? If it ends up just being the instructions, and there we go, that's fine. That'll do perfectly.
That's right.
Okay.
Welcome to AJ's hand model of the evening. This is what it looks like to build Lego.
Yeah, and have a watch on that's going to tell you the time exactly as we're doing it.
Perfect.
So anyway, okay. So we were talking about Kenobi and canon issues, right?
I don't know if it was canon issues. It was canon concerns. I feel like that's a segment for your show. You can have that one.
Okay. Yeah, and I feel like everybody watching the show, because, Star Wars fans love to shit on the thing they love the most. I feel like they're all waiting to do the same thing. They're like, just come on, give me something. Give me something. I'll tell you why it's wrong. I'll tell you why Kathleen Kennedy should be fired. Stop with that nonsense, by the way. That's ridiculous.
I was excited. I already said it and I meant it. I was excited for them to just follow that episode 1 through 3 formula of, yeah, it's a little campy, but that's okay. I don't know that you can complain about that. It's not as serious as episode 4. This is Star Wars. It's not serious. It's not supposed to be serious.
If they all of a sudden made if they made like high drama all of a sudden, it would be so wrong for the franchise. Like Star Wars is a known quantity. You can't deviate too far from it. Otherwise you get The Last Jedi and people get pissed off at you, whether it's deserved or not. And for the record, no, it wasn't deserved. Not at all. But, that's a whole different topic. Now, did you want to talk about what you've been watching lately, or do you want to dive into Celebration?
Well, I want to hear more about Celebration, but I get to throw out Stranger Things 4, which has been around for quite a while. I'm behind because when you listen to metal all day, every day, and talk about bands in their entirety, you have to make time to watch shows. I'm still watching The Next Generation, Star Trek, Blu-ray set every day a little bit, because sometimes you just have to make time to rewatch The Next Generation in its entirety, and I'm okay with that. But then finally sat down to watch Stranger Things 4, and I like how they find a way to do this scary sci-fi mixed with very serious worldview, emotional ideas. And I like how after the last 2 years that we've all had of absolute shit, Stranger Things 4 is basically mental health is a real thing. Get help. There's so many people that needed that message. Have you sat through it yet?
No. Now, help me out on this. Is it coming out one episode a week, or was it all dropped at once?
I don't know because I wasn't subscribed to Netflix when it came out, when season 4 came out. But right now, it's all out there. You can just go watch it.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, because I know like everything these days is coming out one episode at a time, drip feed like old cable TV. But Stranger Things never did, so that was kind of the abnormality of the whole thing. Now, I haven't caught up on the previous seasons. It's been so long since that thing came out. What's it been? 2 years since season 3?
Yes, it got delayed like everything else, which may or may not have been the reason why they have this plot. But I have mixed feelings on the drop it all at once versus drip feed. I feel like this year the drip feed is let's cash in on the old school model of hoping people will stay subscribed and pay 3 months worth of a subscription to watch that show versus paying one and watching the whole thing. As a fan, as a modern media consumer, I think it's safe to say not everybody has the time to watch the drip feed every week. And for those of us that would prefer to have the whole thing and be able to plan when to watch it, I'm kind of done with the drip feed. I don't think I'm going to have a choice in the matter, but I'm kind of done with the drip feed.
Unfortunately, I think the days of not doing the drip feed are over with. By the way, we're not on this step. We're actually ahead. So I'm actually undoing stuff because I was like, why can't I find these parts? It's because they're already on the thing. So don't mind me. I'm just unbuilding right now.
Unbuilding.
It's a slow start. I'm rusty. Yeah. But anyway, like what you get is something like Paramount Plus, where they have said they want new Star Trek on every week of the year because they know that people do that. They sign up for 1 month, they binge everything, and they shut down. So if you get like new episode every week, 52 weeks out of the year, you never have a good time to stop subscribing. I think it's genius personally. But
thank you, Kel McLeish, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I wondered about that because I saw a trailer on YouTube that was talking about Volume 2, and I'm like, Volume 2? What the hell? So I guess that's what they were doing with it.
Yep. I guess we have more to say.
216. Now we're on 217. Okay, 217 is where we're at. Okay, so how many episodes, Kale, since you're all on top of this, how many episodes are in Volume 1? I would really like to know that for starters. Because it seems like as shows go on, the episode count gets lower.
I'm okay with that sometimes.
Yeah, like what was I watching the other day? I was watching Raised by Wolves on HBO. I was catching up on that show. And a great show, unfortunately canceled, of course. But
really?
Like the first season was 10 episodes and the second one's only 8. And I don't think it was canceled until after the end of season 2. So they made the choice to do fewer episodes before they knew they weren't coming back, which really pissed me off, honestly. Because it's, like I said, it's a cool show. I want it to be, want more of it.
Maybe it's just familiarity with the American formula of television. But anytime I sit down and watch one of the older UK shows that are 6 or 7 episodes in a series, but they spend just 5 extra minutes just to round that story out. It feels like they put more time into it, but maybe it's just, like I said, familiarity, because you can have 3 good episodes in a 10-episode season. Well, you're more likely to have 5 good episodes in a 6-episode season or series than you are in a 22 or 24 episode. But I think now, because of the way Netflix has changed series, we're getting more serialized entertainment than we have ever before, or at least in recent years.
Yeah, you can absolutely blame that on them. That's them figuring out that, unlike back in the days of syndication when people would just tune in for a week and then people didn't want them to be lost. If they just picked it up out of nowhere, they would just make sure that everything was, episodic, everything was wrapped up at the end of that time slot, and, on we go with our lives. Netflix was the first one to realize that, hey, if we make sure that every week is a cliffhanger, then they'll keep coming back. Plus, also, remember, they used to drop everything all at once. So, no problem with doing that cliffhanger stuff, because you can just go right to the next episode, binge it all out.
Right.
So, yeah, that's definitely a Netflix invention.
Yeah, Cale McLeish says Volume 1 is 7 episodes. That's absolutely correct. We're getting the mystery build-up and birth of the villain as we go. Each one is no shorter than 45 minutes, and a few hit the 90-minute mark. There are 2 yet to come. Yep.
90-minute mark for an episode? That is a film, then.
Absolutely.
That's crazy. I mean, good if you're a fan of the show, you're getting tons of content, but geez. Yeah. All right, well, at least you're getting your money's worth, so to speak, because I don't know about you, but Netflix seems to be running a little dry lately.
They ran dry for me years ago. They've got good shows every now and then. I sat down and watched Squid Game finally. It was great, but it wasn't leading to more groundbreaking horror content. It was just a good show that they decided to release on their platform. I don't know that they made it or they produced it, but they've got so much not good that they've put their name on that it's almost not worth having it all the time like you used to. Netflix used to be a curator of interesting and entertaining things, and then they became a creator, and then they failed to curate the good versus the bad. At least that's been my experience recently.
Yeah, I think what happened was, before anyone else was really in on the streaming game, they signed up all the rights to these shows, and then studios realized, like, oh shit, this is a thing. So they started taking back all the streaming rights. So Netflix was kind of forced to come up with their own stuff because they didn't have every other studio's content to work from anymore.
That sucks for the viewer.
They've struggled since.
So tired of the walled garden. We own the publishing for this, so we're going to roll our own service. Guys, just figure out how I can subscribe to one thing, you all get your cut, and I can watch all the stuff. That's all I want. That's all anybody wants.
That's called cable.
You're right. I hope you're subscribed to video services.
Right, like that's exactly what it is. It's cable all over again. We're just getting it through the internet instead of through the coaxial cable now. I mean, it's getting provided by the same company, and then the studios are just, bundling up together. That's why you get like the Disney, Hulu Plus, ESPN Plus bundle. It's like you pick your channel packages just like you did back in the day, which is asinine. We're going backwards instead of forwards, I think.
Look at this. My co-host, Discuss Metal Dan, he's in the chat. What's up, dude? I'll be there shortly. Don't worry. He waited several years for new Stranger Things. It took forever. He canceled Netflix. A week later, they released new Stranger Things. Surprise!
I mean, here is the one thing that I think streaming services have at their advantage, though, and Netflix might pivot to this. They seem to be a good home for other people's canceled shows or ideas that just never get picked up by the big studios, like the latest Masters of the Universe series that was written by Kevin Smith. That was a fantastic continuation of He-Man. And I can't picture that ever getting anywhere, but Netflix is like, yeah, sure, we'll take it. People will watch a Kevin Smith thing. I was like, cool. I don't know where else that ever would have found a home. Or you get like The Expanse was picked up by Amazon after Sci-Fi canceled it. I would say Arrested Development, but that stuff wasn't so good.
The Expanse I've started a few times. Oh, please, let's get back into the Orville.
Now, okay, yeah, if you scroll up in the comments, I think it was probably Cale was saying before, yeah, he was saying up here that the Orville's new season isn't very good, lackluster couple of episodes. I don't know, Kale. I think I got to disagree with you on that one. One, they definitely got an upgrade in the effects budget. It looks fantastic. Like, we are so spoiled for TV quality, quote, TV quality effects now. Like, what do you think? What do you think, Dan? What is the, or Joe, sorry, what is the, yeah, your co-host pops in and I get all confused for a second. What do you think is the best looking show on streaming or TV right now?
The best looking show.
Yeah, I mean, especially as a Trek fan, we're used to forgiving the visual effects because we're hooked on the story. It doesn't seem like you have to make that sacrifice anymore.
I think I think shows are pushing what is, I don't want to say acceptable, but I think the technology has finally caught up with the creation, because you don't have to spend the same time cutting film together, cutting effects together. It's everybody's using Final Cut, right? So when everybody's using the same tool and using the same tricks, it ends up being a lot easier to make something that visually looks the same quality. So I don't think there's one show that looks the best. I think the most interesting thing about TV right now is sci-fi, because it's not a definitive line anymore where you have your Terminator 2 and then you have a sci-fi movie about a giant snake, a really giant snake that eats an entire train before the end of the movie. Don't get me started on that. But there was also that time in the 90s where that wasn't just a sci-fi thing. Like, and when I say sci-fi, I mean the really cheesy sci-fi movies. For better or for worse, Sharknado doesn't look bad. And I think we buy into the cheese because it's sci-fi. It's like a really good B movie. Like Alien, I'll remember the name, or Dan's going to tell me. There's
Resurrection.
No, that is not a good movie.
Covenant.
Trust me. I was trying to think of a movie starring Bruce Campbell to make a bad comparison. Like, everything can have a visual style, and sometimes that style can be cheesy. So I'm going to give Stranger Things a run for the best looking show, but they are not the only show that has captured that very dark atmospheric look. I think it looks as good as like an American Horror Story. So I think TV looks as good as it ever has. We're having less and less cheese, and we keep talking about the Orville, and I think I said it the last time I was here. I think the Orville is the most Star Trek looking show we've seen in a long time, but then even Star Trek is getting higher quality cinematic effects, and then we're complaining about it because shaky camera. Sorry, Discovery. I can't get into it.
The budgets are getting ridiculous on these things. So I'm nerd enough that I actually watch the Ready Room, that behind the scenes show they put out every week after the episodes come out. And Will Wheaton hosts it. It's on YouTube. It's really cool. And they had this week's, they did some behind the scenes stuff showing off the props of Strange New Worlds. And they were going through these things, and they were saying that, like, the phasers, for example, since everything's supposed to look like, original series era, but of course, original series 1960 level stuff would not hold up to 4K cameras. So they've been having to, remake this stuff. And the phasers alone, the quote hero phasers, the ones that are used for close-ups, $8,000 a piece for phasers. Like, oh my God. That's where the budget's going, is just making sure a gun looks good in a close-up?
I'm in the wrong business, Dan. We need to start making movie props. If we can remake phasers from the 1960s Star Trek and charge $8,000 a piece, dude, we're getting somewhere with that.
Yeah, what I want to know is like, who's authorizing that? Like, obviously there's a budget for the props department, and it partially comes through by them saying what things are going to cost. If I saw $8,000 for a phaser come through, I'd be like, get the fuck out of here with that nonsense.
I get to hit the button one time, right?
Oh,
right,
come
on! Yeah, exactly. Like, What the hell? And same thing with like tricorder. Like it's amazing. Like everything that they showed seemed to have a price tag of $8,000 on it. It was very, very suspect. I mean, it looks great, but do we really need $8,000 props? Maybe we can make the show for half the budget or make twice as many episodes. I mean, long gone are the days of 26 episode seasons.
Oh, definitely. It's less about how much can we get done for as little money as possible. You know, we spent all of $5,000 to build this film set. We're going to get our money's worth. And now it's how good can we make it look for basically the same money? We'll just spend more time creating more interesting stories.
Yeah. But you were talking about that earlier. I think if you really want to make sure you've got good stories coming out, you do need a certain quantity to play off of. If you're only making 10 episodes instead of 26, what are the odds that you're going to have like 8 hits?
And Kale, I got to ask, what is the scene? He's saying that Kenobi or Stranger Things is looking to be the best looking show on TV. He says, man, there was a shot in the last episode of Stranger Things that needs to win an Emmy for cinematography.
Well, I only caught a few pieces of it as a couple of our vacation mates, the kids will call them, although they're both in their 20s. They were watching in the hotel room, and I was watching it, and they do such a good job of making that show look like a cheesy 80s B movie.
Absolutely. It's dark Goonies when I watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, like they know their style, and they are killing it. So, I mean, credit to the team. They're doing exactly what they set out to do.
Is it possible that while at Celebration, any of you had time to watch anything but Star Wars? Like, did you have to go for a palate cleanser at the end of the day? Like, man, it's all these panels, and I'm waiting in lines. We've been out killing bottles of liquor for the past 17 hours straight. I really need to watch some Golden Girls or something.
You know, I just don't get sick of sci-fi. And with the damn Star Trek model, I did have to fire up Paramount Plus and catch My Strange New Worlds when it came out.
Well, you convinced me.
That show is so damn good.
It's the next one on the list. Finally got through Picard season 2, getting through Stranger Things now. Now it wasn't that bad.
If that's the best you can say about it, it's like a line from Ted. Oh, Boston Girls are not that bad. If all you can say is they're not that bad, they are that bad. Yeah, don't get me started on Picard, okay?
Hey, AJ,
we'll do a podcast about that. We'll get our shots in.
AJ, come on! I've got 10 minutes. Where's Flash Gordon? Seriously.
Okay, yeah, seriously, we are running out of time. We're rambling here. So, okay, main topic that was actually hyped in the description. So I don't want to pull a John and not even get around to the thing we're going to talk about. So, I'm purposely wearing a specific Nerf Herder Council shirt tonight that is based on the colors of the Rise of Skywalker.
Let's take a look at that real quick. Yeah, why don't you show that off? Yeah.
Yeah.
Where can they get that shirt right now?
Oh, you can get this at shop.nerfherdercouncil.com, where you can pick your color of the t-shirt and your size and your garment even. So the one thing you can't pick is the color of the print. They don't let you change that. So if you got a color in mind that isn't up there, shoot us an email. I'll make it for you. You can have a one of a kind. But anyway, so yeah, this celebration was supposed to take place back in 2020 before the world blew up and, everything got wrecked. Now, one would think that with episode 9 coming out in 2019, that the main thrust of Celebration 2020 would have been the victory lap for the Skywalker saga and the sequel trilogy in particular, right?
Right.
Well, guess what had basically no representation whatsoever at Celebration?
Everything that was released after Solo.
Yeah, basically, if it wasn't Mando or Mando related or one of the current projects, it wasn't there. So, like, there was nothing for the sequel trilogy. There were no panels on it whatsoever. And I think Billy Lord and Rose Tico. I keep saying Rose Tico. That's the character's name. Kelly Marie Tran. Two actresses
I cannot wait.
Got non-panel appearances on the live stream that they were doing on the Star Wars channel. That's it for the sequel trilogy at Celebration. Like for a thing that's supposed to be a celebration of all things Star Wars, they couldn't stay far enough away from that thing.
Do you think it's a intentional choice of we're going to make the panels about the shows that we're making because we still have some leftover concerns about COVID and we don't want people to be here, even though I think you could have some virtual appearances and everybody would understand? I know there's an expectation. Obviously, you're at Celebration. You want to see people. You want to sit down and watch panels and hear people who are actually in the room talking. But that does kind of suck to think that all things Star Wars means all things that we bought from George Lucas and everything we're working on now, but none of the stuff that we've created in recent years.
Basically, if it wasn't popular, it wasn't there. Because Solo didn't really get a shout out either. There was nothing to see from Solo. And I mean, I really wouldn't expect much, but yeah, it was super conspicuous. And I think super disappointing that it wasn't there. Whether you like it or not, it's 3 out of 9 movies in the main timeline of Star Wars. You know, it should be there in some respect. Besides, what if you know, we were spoiled. We got raised on the original trilogy, right?
Look at this.
Easily, you know, I mean, it launched the whole franchise. So it's not a stretch to say probably the best trilogy, right?
I think
okay,
that's not negotiable at all. And yes, Kale definitely has it. He doubts there was so much Jar Jar either, right? Well, Kale, I agree, but I think we're getting to a point where everybody can just admit that they like Jar Jar. It's not that we liked it back then. It's that he's grown on us finally. Yeah,
you know, the time heals all wounds, right?
He's going to be a Sith Lord eventually. I'm guaranteeing it.
But I was actually kind of sad for the lack of sequel trilogy stuff at Celebration because, you know, as much as some fans didn't like it, for a whole generation of Star Wars fans, that is their trilogy. Like, there are kids that grew up with Rose and Poe and Finn and Kylo. And for the company that made it to basically turn their backs on it as soon as it's out the door and doesn't have any box office relevance anymore, that's gotta suck, you know? Like, maybe they're attending their first Celebration. They can't wait to see and hear about all this stuff. And then there's nothing for them.
So that's a bummer, good question for you guys. You were there. Was the young new fans, were they present?
There were lots of kids there. And, you know, a lot of Kylo Ren costumes and a lot of Rey costumes. Like, the characters are popular, but Lucasfilm themselves seem content to just forget that they ever made that and move on to the next thing. And I feel like and we have nothing announced as far as continuing on in the timeline at all where these characters might return. So you've got this kind of like forgotten generation, you know? I feel bad for kids that are growing up with 7, 8, and 9 as their Star Wars because there's really like nothing for them all of a sudden.
Isn't that the original George Lucas maneuver, though? To try and put all the focus and attention on the new thing? The same thing happened in the late 90s when the prequels were coming out. Everybody was upset, and you had the classic fans who didn't feel represented, and the answer was always, it's a movie for kids. I'm making a movie for kids.
Mm-hmm.
But
at least there was follow-up on those, though. You know, you had the Clone Wars series. So after the prequels came out, then you got a TV show that followed up on it. So you still got to spend time with those characters. But there's nothing. Like, if you're a fan of Rey or Finn, too bad. You're just not going to get anything from them. And I understand, like, the actors had a bad time making it, and fair point there. But, God, what do you do with the fans? You're leaving a big chunk of fans out in the cold. And as you know, the reason we're still talking Star Wars at our age is because we got hooked when we were their age.
Absolutely. And I think
feel like
so go ahead and spoil this for me. How do you feel about Darth Vader sounding like Darth Vader, but James Earl Jones was not involved?
It's got to happen at some point when you're dealing with a franchise this old. People get old and they can't do it anymore. I think what's amazing is that I had to read that online before I actually knew that that was the case. The technology's gotten so good. And let's face it, as much as we love Rogue One, Vader didn't sound right. That was James Earl Jones in his final voiceover as Darth Vader. And he sure didn't sound like a younger version of Vader. He sounded like a very much older version of Vader.
It's been an interesting topic, and I think people have been talking about it mostly with Star Wars. This idea of dead actors being brought back and the technology is getting better and better and better. I have mixed feelings about it, and I don't know how. I think of all things, Star Wars is going to help us decide how we feel about it, because you had Moff Tarkin, and we were all happy that they could do that, but then everybody started to talk about the Uncanny Valley, and was it too long, too much time spent? But then you had them do young Luke in The Mandalorian, and what's the difference? The difference is Mark Hamill's still alive. He can still give his okay on that. I think I think we've gone a little too far when we start asking people's estates if we can just have their likenesses forever. And now that we can sample someone's voice indefinitely and just continue that on forever, I don't know how I'm going to feel about it in the short term, but I think in the long term, we're going to start to look at characters like we look at cartoons. Like Darth Vader, he's supposed to sound like that. And as much as I don't hate, like the what was it? Not The Force Awakens, the two great games that came out with Starkiller in them. The Force Unleashed.
Oh, Force Unleashed.
As much as I like those games, I don't really have a problem with Chad Vader doing the voice of Vader. Like, I never had a problem with that. But now we're going to have this new expectation where, because we can, that character has to sound like that forever. And Darth Vader is the one that's really making me challenge what I think about that. Because from the actor's perspective, from the fan's perspective, and not even the existing, from the new actor's perspective, where now you might not get a chance to play Darth Vader because we have the technology. Darth Vader is officially a puppet, and it's going to sound the same and look the same forever, and no one else is going to have a shot at that character. That's the part that's got me a little bit backwards on this, but at the end of the day, it's Star Wars. We kind of need the character to be the same, because we're going to be telling this story for a long time.
Yeah, it's an interesting problem to have, right? Like, I mean, it's kind of ironic if you think about it, because Vader himself, the whole reason he has that voice is because it's a robotic recreation of Anakin's voice, right? So in universe, it makes sense that they use all this technology to make that sound happen. But yeah, there's I don't know, would you call it an ethical dilemma or a moral dilemma of
it seems that way until you realize that
recreating someone's identity, right? Like,
right, and
your voice is part of who you are.
And that I'm hearing, got a few people that live out closer to Hollywood. They make commercials, they do things. I get some insight into this. That is the hot topic in entertainment right now. If you've heard the trope, or you've heard the story about Disney creating an archive of people's scans so that they can recreate their actors at a later date, digitally. Does
this tie into the statement that they said they're not going to recast younger versions of established characters?
It might, because that's what they're starting to talk about. They're starting to rethink how they write contracts now. To when you appear in something, do we also need to retain the use of your voice, the use of your image in the context of that character. Like, do I think that you're going to be able to long term just buy somebody's voice and use it? Well, I wouldn't put it past anybody with a legal contract, but it's going to get to a point, I think, where a James Earl Jones does a character like Darth Vader, and part of the negotiation process and getting paid almost nothing is going to be, we get to use your voice as a model for what this character sounds like forever. And then you don't have 40 years of James Earl Jones getting paid and being represented as Darth Vader. It becomes something, I wish I had negotiated a little higher back 50 years ago. And for the new actor and the new actress, I'm kind of annoyed by that, because you almost don't have to do the same kind of work and develop your craft. You just have to get it right one time, and then you just sit back. And then nobody gets to even get a shot at doing that again.
Yeah, I see your point there. And this is the danger, right? Is like, now you can have this construct. We've got deep fakes, so you can fake someone's likeness. And now we've got audio deep fakes as well, so you can fake someone's voice. Once you've got those two pieces, yeah, you can just keep making new stories with these people for forever, whether they're living or dead, doesn't matter.
It becomes more like a cartoon or animation and less about actual filmmaking.
Yeah, at that point, you only need three pieces. You need your digital constructs of the person's likeness and their voice, and then a body to capture motion. So someone just pantomimes whatever you want the character to do, and the rest is all made up in the computer. And I think it's cool on one hand, because it means like you can truly live forever, so to speak, through your work, because you can still be kind of performing long past your own expiration date. But on the other hand, yeah, no one else gets a crack at it because, well, they've already captured you.
And I wish I could remember what movie it was, but I was reading they're making not a World War II era, but might be Vietnam. I wish I could remember the name of it. If I had done my research before jumping on this live stream, I would have had that ready. But I was seeing something about another actor that's
we
long
don't plan
since.
Ahead, so.
Exactly. It's WTF Fridays. WTF, are we here? Exactly.
I didn't even know we were going to be talking about this.
Exactly. I didn't either. Welcome to I just spoiled your topic. It's somebody big that they're going to use for a movie, and it's not going to be like an appearance. It's going to be the entire movie. And I sat down and I thought about it, and I said, the people are going to get upset about this, because now, yeah, you can, but you never actually stop to think if you should. And I think I know when everyone is going to say no more, and that's when they can make new movies with Bruce Lee in it. I tried to pick one actor and say, when are they going to say, okay, guys, you've gone too far? It's not going to be Marlon Brando. It's not going to be any of your classic, Fred Astaire or anybody like that. It's going to be Bruce Lee, because that's something everybody's going to get upset about.
It's got to be an actor who's got enough stuff that they can make a convincing clone of them. Right? Like when they de-aged Robert Downey Jr. for, I think it was, I forget which of the Marvel movies, which of the Iron Mans it was, probably Iron Man 3, I think. And they made him look like he did back in the 80s. Like they had such a body of film on him that they had, loads of material to pull from. Something like a Bruce Lee, I feel like that stuff is too old and too low quality to really do an effective facsimile. But I mean, who knows? As technology gets better, we might just be able to fake it anyway. I mean, if you've seen anything that happened just like in Unreal Engine 5, it's a game engine, and they're using it to create backgrounds in real time now on sets. So how long before creatures and humans get to be that way too? You're right. It is a slippery slope. And then you get into the question of, is it art or is it accuracy? So like, do you respect the craft of someone being able to step into that role, or would you rather have a digital recreation that's perfect to the original performance.
And the answer to my previous statement that I didn't actually do the research on is James Dean.
Good
so they're going to use
point.
deepfake technology to put James Dean in another movie. And no, it's not just going to be an appearance. It's going to be the entire movie. James Dean is one of the people that could make the masses say no more. But yeah, I'm going to stand by my statement on this. I think everyone is going to get upset when they do something like a Bruce Lee.
Mm-hmm. I mean, my question is, what's the point? Like, how many people are still such huge fans of James Dean that they can't wait to see a CGI recreation of him get in front of the camera again?
The answer to your question is, if you go to the store today, do you hear music from the 70s, 80s, 90s, or 2000s?
70s and 80s, really. 90s sometimes?
The answer to your question
Depends on where you're
is
shopping, I guess.
Exactly, and the answer to your question is that is who the general entertainment masses think is the most relevant.
Yeah, it's tricky.
Throwing down gauntlets tonight, AJ. I don't know if that's why I'm here, but I'm doing it.
I try to keep things light on this show, and now you're getting into like moral and ethical gray areas, and I mean, good on you for bringing the heavy hitters, but geez, man, I am not prepared for this.
I just wanted to make an ATST out of not real Lego.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's a little bit different story because in the case of 84 Terminator and Salvation, they just went to Arnold and was like, hey, is this cool? And of course, he's like, you got money for me?
That's always the answer.
I mean, right?
Oh, the check
cleared. Like, oh, you want to pay me for a thing I did 30 years ago? Okay. Who's going to say no to that? I mean, hell, I think my brother would even do another Gatlin show if someone had a paycheck for him.
I wish I had a clip for that.
I mean, it's why Motley Crue retired and then didn't.
That's the best not it. Ding bell I could have for the night. I'll be prepared next time for a positive word from your brother. I've only got negatives.
Those are hard to come by. Yeah, those are hard to come by.
Which reminds me, I think you're sitting on a gold mine of actually releasing Nerf Herder Council Bingo. I feel like you could release that to make some money.
Well, I think someone's going to get cirrhosis if I do that. Might be me. I don't know. I mean, a drinking game would be great anyway. We've got our own plans. We'll keep those under wraps until we get all the things worked out. But
absolutely,
yeah, there will be drinking involved. I mean, you appreciate a good bourbon now and then, don't you?
Almost every night, whether it's bourbon or scotch or something else with a different name, I'm pretty much good.
Well, there you go. Yeah, perfect. So, yeah, we'll have more conversations about that because we've got stuff in the works.
Absolutely.
But
I'm still trying to get you guys to do a follow-up Cards Against Star Wars, which hasn't happened now in a few years.
Has it been that long, really?
Do you want to make some promises tonight that you have to keep? Like that's going to happen in the next few weeks or something like that?
No, because that involves look, I'll just be totally honest and pull the curtain back for a second. June absolutely sucks for our show because that's exactly when my brother's band schedule gets lit up. So trying to find time where he's available to do anything is damn near impossible. So
see, look, Hale wants to get in on it. I know Dan wants to get in on it.
Oh, we could definitely find players. Just don't expect my brother to be one of them. Okay. You can see the instructions on the screen here, yeah?
Absolutely.
All right, I'm getting very lost here. So you see how I'm supposed to have like 2 axles or 3 axles hanging out up there at the top?
Oh, wow.
I don't see how that's supposed to happen. It looks like they kind of like forgot a piece.
Does the next page have a better angle?
I might just have one more. I don't know.
Does the next page have a better angle?
Probably not. It all stays at the same angle. Yeah, it just builds on itself.
Keep going.
Okay, never mind. I figured it out. I'm stupid. That's not what I figured out. I already knew that. See how it says like there's
Thanks,
two of them
R2.
needed? Yeah. You're supposed to do two of these things, not just one. So with two of those pieces, now I've got it. Anyway, we were talking. Yeah, Cards Against Star Wars. I'm always down. We'll get Steve involved for that. I'm sure he'd be down for a game of that. Plus, once we get done with this, I think it's time to take a break from the Lego building and do something else on a WTF Friday. Otherwise, it's just a Friday Lego stream. So yeah, we can definitely hook that up. Hey, if it's a mandate from the masses, it's what we've got to do, right?
That's absolutely correct. I was digging around. I was trying to find like a good Star Trek game that could support more than one person. Let's just say there aren't any. I really wanted to come to you and be like, "Hey, dude. So when you get done with this, there's this Star Trek online, and we can be Kirk and Spock, and it's good. I played it. It's not good. That was a topic for a Friday that is not going to pan out.
Boy, don't you feel bad for Star Trek sometimes? They want so badly to be cool, and I just don't think they're ever going to get there.
It's cool, but you gotta let it be what it is. It's submarines in space. That's it.
Yeah, like you've watched enough of Kurtzman era Trek, which is 2009 and onwards. It doesn't seem like every time they try to have like a cool moment, they just come off nerdy. Like anytime a character is supposed to say something with attitude, and you're like, oh no, you can't pull that off.
I want to grab someone who is in charge of the cinematography, and I want to tell them, you're making Star Trek, right? This isn't Serenity. This isn't Firefly. This isn't Babylon 5 or one of the other Star Trek ripoffs. This is Star Trek. It's just submarines in space. It's people making clever one-liners and wacky incidents happening that they have to spend 48 minutes figuring out how to fix. That's it.
Well, see, you just hit on something, though. Clever one-liners. They're not clever, though. Or maybe they used to be, and they just don't know how to write them anymore. Because every time I hear someone try to say something that's supposed to be a funny moment or, like you said, clever, it's just not. I'm like, what are you doing, guys? But they want so badly to be cool. That's why I feel like that's why they spent so much time trying to not be like old Trek. When they came out with Discovery and everything, like, look, we're not the same old Star Trek. Like, we want you to be.
All right, shout out to Kale.
Star Trek.
I gotta jump in here for a second because shout out to Kale.
There.
Fun thing I just realized. I feel like a dumbass for not outing this earlier. He's James Kirk, as in the two Metallica guitarists, even though they were 20 years before. Well, Kale, bravo, man. I feel like we just had a Batman v Superman moment. Like, we just now figured out that their moms have the same name. So bravo to Kale. Kale, I need you to come over to discussmetal.com and get your props. Dan, we might have to shout that out later on the show. That's
so what? You said you're doing a recording session later, right?
Absolutely. We record new shows every Friday.
So you wanna give a little teaser of what you're going to be talking about?
Ooh, that's rough. We keep that schedule close to our hearts. We don't let it out for anybody, really, except for our patrons. We do a hangout every month. This is me putting in a cheap plug again, where we talk about things and we hang out, we play games with our patrons. And here's what I'm gonna say though. Here's the spoiler you're gonna get. I'm not gonna tell you about tonight. What I'm gonna tell you about is Sunday. There's a band. There's more than one, but there is a band that we've been getting pushed to talk about this band for quite a while, and we finally went ahead and did it. And for any fan of mainstream black metal from the early 2000s, late 90s, who may have only had one option in the mainstream, this Sunday is going to be the day for you. if you subscribe to my podcast. That's what I'm allowed to say. If Dan wants me to spoil it any further, he's going to have to be the one to do it in the chat.
That's a good hook. I like it. Now, I'll confess, I have not actually listened to your show. So when you say you're doing a recording tonight, does that mean you're going to be live? Or does that really mean you're going to like, do you do a live show, or is this a recorded show that comes out later?
We do recorded show. We've done some live streams, and we might still do some. And then my co-host, I'll get to it, dude. Just hold on a second. He's currently spamming the chat, talking about live stream. Now, the main show we don't always stream that live. We've had its occasions, but when we are live, it's once a month. It's on Saturday. It's a thing we like to call Discuss Metal Live, which is more of a discussion-based show, and we talk about metal topics. Because we've been doing this show for a long time, almost 6 years. And one of the things that listeners of our show that are not AJ from the Nerf Herder Council, apparently, are always coming after us for is talk about this metal thing. Talk about this topic. Don't just talk about discography. So we do that. We do that live once a month. And this month it's going to be on the 18th. And the topic of discussion, let me pull this up here for a second so I can make sure I say it right. We've talked about music of the Doom games. We've talked about bands, genres, and what game they would remind us of. Last week we talked about elitism in metal. Or last month we talked about elitism in metal and gatekeeping. And this month's going to be a bit of a throwback to our youth, but even further back than our youth, because we're going to talk about being a metal fan in the 80s and the 90s during the Satanic Panic. My co-host has a big has some big stories to tell, because I know he grew up in that environment. I unfortunately did not, or fortunately. I got that backwards there for a second, guys. Spoilers. So that's going to be a big one, because I know that was tough for a lot of people. A lot of people that were older than we were. But yeah, that's going to be next Saturday. That's going to be an interesting one. I didn't expect us to get so dark so quickly, because we just started doing this at the beginning of the year. But you know, when your friends in the Nerf Herder Council do a live thing almost every other week, well, we wanted in on the action, AJ.
Hey, it's a lot easier, because when you do it live, you can always explain away a bad show by going like, it happens when you're live. When you record it, then you actually have time to actually come back later and say, you know what, that wasn't any good. Let's do it again. So we just got tired of apologizing for our quality and just decided to, make a built-in excuse for it by going live. What the? Like, can you imagine if this is a recorded show right now? Yeah,
I can't imagine that, and you don't understand how much effort I would put into it to make it sound as good as it possibly can.
Yeah, and instead we could just turn this out and be like, all right, look, you're lucky you got anything at all, so shut up. I mean, I love my listeners, but come on, only to a certain degree. No, I'm kidding. But okay, here's a suggestion for a future episode of discography discussion. I don't know if you've already covered this, but Rammstein.
We did cover Rammstein.
Why ever?
Are you not a fan?
I mean,
AJ?
Why ever? There's a guy at my gym. He actually runs the open gym for 2 hours on Sundays, and it's nothing but Rammstein for 2 hours. I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
Man.
You're killing me here.
So
like, no one wants to listen to 2 straight hours of Rammstein.
Well, we did. First of all, what you just described sounds to me like horror stories I've heard of people being forced to listen to Filter every Saturday for 6 hours straight. I do love me some Filter, but every week on Saturday, that's not going to work. Rammstein's a really good listen. One fun part about doing our show is eventually we just have to listen to that band that we thought we hated 10 years ago, because nobody would stop talking about it. So we get that different perspective when we do it. And Rammstein was one of those bands where they've got the theatrics. They're kind of ridiculous. They're kind of tongue in cheek, and for non-German speaking audiences, it's kind of more tongue in cheek at times. So it really is interesting when you figure out that the song Deutschland is about how, Germany has failed at being awesome because they've had so much negativity in their history. That's what that song's about. So there you go.
How about the one, was it We're in America? I think it is. That one cracks me up. How it's just like basically it's, what Rammstein reminds me of? They're like the German equivalent of Five Finger Death Punch to me.
Ooh, that might be too far. You might have gone too far on that one, because Five Finger Death Punch. Well, I don't think that band would be popular if Slipknot had put out an album that year. That's one of my hot takes on that.
Oh my God, yeah. There was a time where I thought they were actually pretty good, and fortunately, I recovered.
Look at this, my co-host. He only takes suggestions from listeners. That's right. Also, hot take. Oh, thanks, dude. I appreciate that. Remind me to repeat the thing I said about emo one time.
All right, so we got a feud going now. Apparently, it's me versus Dan. All right. So I'll tune in, and then I'll tell you what.
You versus Dan, me
How
versus
about
John.
that, Dan. This is my show. I get to say whatever the fuck I want.
You can run, but you can't hide, bitch.
And I have control, and I can hit a soundboard every time I want to.
I think he's just mad because you're on my stream right now when you're supposed to be recording with him.
I'll get to it. Don't worry. The night is young, sir. We don't get to do this every week.
True. As much as I love talking to you, I don't want to take up every Friday with you, man. You should have a life outside of podcasting. You do have a life outside of podcasting, right?
Absolutely. Otherwise, I wouldn't have time to do all these nerdy things that I constantly do. I mean, I'm waiting for you guys to break the seal on video games, and then I'm just going to invade your show every week.
Well, I mean, that's what you've got Nerf Herder Games for. Steve is currently he's just switched over to Pokemon from Elden Ring, actually, so he changed it up a little bit. I don't know if you're have you ever played Pokemon?
Absolutely. I'm old school. First generation,
Dude,
had the pocket in my pocket. Yeah, absolutely.
See, I am old enough that I was out of video games and into puberty before Pokemon really took hold. So never have I ever. I feel like there's a whole era of games that I need to get into, in a retro kind of way. And I think Pokemon might be a decent start because, I mean, it's been around for what, 25, 30 years?
It started in the mid-90s. It's actually one of the longest development cycles for the Game Boy console in the first generation. But, yeah, it dropped in the mid-90s, and it was kind of a big deal. I don't know if we're technically on generation 5, 6, or whatever the number is now. It's a game concept that really hasn't changed. They just make it look a little prettier every time. So that's also one of the cool things about it. If you're still playing it, which I admit I don't get as much time to play it, but I do make time to play it occasionally. The newer versions, it's the same thing. It's a different kind of resource management game. I think if Pokemon had come out at a time when modern cell phones were a thing, it would have been some strange Candy Crush like game. It's a game about collecting and just strategically winning battles. At its core,
it was
that's what it is.
a game about children roaming the countryside unsupervised, trapping wild animals and forcing them into combat.
Pokemon actually don't kill each other. They faint. I don't know if that's
they just get tired. They just need a nap, huh?
Yes, they are beating each other into nap time. In fact, yes.
Okay, that doesn't sound too bad then.
Yeah, you can give it to a 5-year-old. It's fine.
Yeah, sure. What could possibly go wrong? It's like Harry Potter, where you just throw some, grade school aged kids into Mortal Kombat with wands and, other lethal devices like that. It's great.
As much as I appreciate those stories today, and I do enjoy the movies from time to time, I do still like to point out that all the action scenes in those movies are people waving sticks at each other. Which, to be fair, is also the content of most lightsaber battles. The difference is the lightsabers are hitting each other.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a little different at least. They're like, they're kind of like swords. They can hurt. But wands, not so much.
Yeah. We're going to fill all this in later with the picks.
Right? Can you imagine what it's like to film that stuff? Like, how ridiculous must you feel on set trying to like sell the effects of these things?
I think it was
trust
Sam.
Me, we'll make you look cool later.
I think it was Sam Jackson who talked about the lightsaber filming the scenes for the prequels and how it was just somebody off in the corner saying, okay, block shots. Okay, look over there. Okay, do this. And then they're just going to fill it in later. So
yeah,
it might not be as dramatic as we think it is, but J.K. Rowling is a bit of a detail person, so I could see her 100% lining up the battle as you have to understand when you're looking at Grindelwald, you're not just angry, you're in love with the man, and that translates into eventually we're just going to put lights at the end of the sticks and make stuff happen.
Yeah, I think her direction would be something like, now remember, you love this man, but you're gay. So you hate yourself because being gay is wrong. So you take that anger at yourself and your lover and you just pour it into this little stick I've given you. But remember, being gay is wrong. That's your motivation.
Right. That's the story we're telling. This is the 20s, right? It's not acceptable.
The 2020s, you mean, right?
I don't know what decade Fantastic Beasts is supposed to be in. I just watch it happen. It's a good movie.
Oh, that was just a joke about J.K. Rowling's homophobia.
Oh,
anyway,
she has homophobia? Really?
Oh, she's been in the news a lot about certain regressive views of hers.
See, this is when a bit actually impacts multiple storylines. Some of us follow the current trends, and the rest of us follow the story arc of her fictional stories. And then it goes in two totally different directions. This is how people get upset, AJ.
This is the problem with modern pop culture in general. Is you got two problems going on here. You've got people that are outraged that she said something that was non-inclusive, and then you've got the other people that are outraged because she said something that was possibly inclusive. So if you're a conservative who doesn't believe in gay rights and they come out and say, no, gays are fine. We support the gays. That's cool. Then you're pissed off. Or maybe you do support the gays and then you're pissed because they didn't support you. Either way you go, there's a section of the fandom that's going to be pissed.
I would like to take the Eddie Izzard approach, and I'll have the chicken.
No, it's okay.
Now we're in a cake or death scenario, and I don't want to be here.
Oh no, we're not getting into the deep end of this stuff at all. But it's just when you try to make something that appeals to everyone, and not everyone has the same opinion, you can't help but piss somebody off. Like, I feel bad for people trying to write stories or do anything creatively these days, because there's no way you're not going to have someone coming after you for something.
I think my brother said it best when he said, yeah, I didn't think about it that way.
Dude, that's the incredible part. I read so much of this stuff online. I'm like, wow, I didn't take that from that piece of entertainment that I just consumed.
No, I was watching a film or a 6-part TV series about space wizards.
Yeah,
with their flashy swords. And
see, now you get the John Drake take, which is like, stop reading into it and just have a good time. And there is that guy. Yep, there is definitely something to be said for that too. I mean, it is entertainment at the end of the day, and you can ruin your own good time by thinking about stuff too hard. I do it all the time. That's my life.
Right. That's the most nerdy thing possible, is to take this thing that was just supposed to be entertaining and break it down to its core individual elements.
And just stomp the life out of it because you overthink it. Yeah.
Right. I love this thing so much, I'm going to beat it to death.
Why isn't it everything I always wanted all the time?
Why won't Kevin Smith make more of the Clerks animated series? Why?
Right?
It was amazing. It was before its time. I'm going to watch it later on. Seriously, I'm going to steal the camera here for a second. Look at this. Look at this. This is
Go for it.
This is okay. I'm just gonna throw it up here. This is some of the best 2000s television that was made too early. Just saying. If you like Family Guy for a second, there is no reason why you haven't seen this.
I feel like that one deserves a revisit because I remember tuning in and they ended up with like, what was it? Jay and Silent Bob were on trial or something, and then a bear in a tiny car came into the courtroom, and that's how they won the case or something.
You are thinking of one of the greatest finales of episode 5, which is a cutaway from the verdict to we're doing a bit about how we lost the ending of this episode when it was moving overseas, so it was finished by Korean animators, and now the ending of the show is an anime. Which spawns one of the greatest lines in the history of television. Who is driving? Oh my God, Bear is driving. How can that be?
I do remember
because
watching
anime.
That like, right? Like that was my take at the time when I think when it was like on ABC of all weird things.
Only 2 episodes ever aired on ABC. So here's the deal, AJ. This is only 2 hours long. 6 episodes.
That's the whole series.
That's the whole.
Wow.
It's only 6 episodes. We could do a watch along. Why don't you put this on your list of possible Friday things?
Now that's a WTF. But the problem is, it's a watch along. So how can everybody else watch along?
They can go to Amazon and buy the DVD for $7, like I did. This isn't the first copy of this I've owned.
$7, huh?
Oh yeah. I want to tweet at Kevin Smith and say, why isn't this available on streaming services?
Right. I mean, he's got an in with Netflix. He just did a series for them. So, he should be able to get that hookup.
Right. It's $9 on Amazon right now. If you live in the U.S., go pick it up.
That is a steal.
Yeah.
When I before they came out on Disney Plus for Star Wars Day a couple of years ago, I went and sought out the DVDs of the Ewok movies, and that shit cost me like $40 for 2 awful made-for-TV movies because it was so unpopular you couldn't find a copy.
Didn't they finally put the Ewok stuff on Disney Plus?
Yep. You can watch the Ewok movies anytime you want, and also I think the Droids and Ewoks cartoons as well.
Oh, dude, I've got a Droids VHS floating around somewhere. I don't hate it. It's not good, but I don't hate it. I think it was an idea that somebody had, aka George Lucas, at a time before Disney Plus was the thing, and you could just make a series with Star Wars. Like that's just one of those things he tried. It's not good, but I don't hate it. It's got Boba Fett in it.
That's the thing is like canon kind of ruins stuff sometimes. No one can just come out with anything weird anymore because everyone wants to know how does this fit into the canon, the universe, and all this stuff. And it kind of stifles creativity at some point because you're afraid to put out anything that's too, out of bounds because people are going to be like, well, that doesn't fit.
Well, MCU has spoiled everybody though.
Yeah, the whole connected universe thing. I mean, Droids was a stupid little Saturday morning cartoon because someone was like, hey, Star Wars is popular. Can we make a cartoon of it? And George is like, you going to pay me? Sure. Have at it.
I think you could do a Saturday morning, I'm going to call this a recess style cartoon. It was a little bit after my time, but I'm going to call it, one of those scenarios, like a bunch of youngsters running around causing havoc and mischief on Saturday morning cartoon. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say the title of this series. I'm going to give it to you, and I want you to run with this in your brain for a second. Mini Mando.
Mini Mando. Oh, that would be hilarious. I know exactly what you're talking about. It would just be like a child version of, yeah.
Right, and they hang out. It's like the Foundlings after they've finally gotten their helmet, and so they refuse to take their helmet off. But then the younglings from the Jedi Academy come over, and they all start, mingling, and mischief happens.
Right. Exactly.
I do have this screenplay copyrighted, so if anybody wants to try and steal it, I will be sending my lawyer after you. I'm kidding.
I'm pretty sure you're going to get a cease and desist from Lucasfilm before you can ever bring litigation against anyone else.
I'm surprised this stream is still happening. Like they didn't just hear me say that and say he knows. Shut it down.
Right. I'm surprised the bots didn't already alert somebody. There's probably people waiting outside my house right now to shut this whole thing down.
And he has unofficial Lego.
Right? Like, what the hell? So, not to bum anyone out too much, but you see how I'm out of other parts?
Oh, no. It's happening?
It's nearing completion, yes.
Oh,
We're
man.
just putting stuff together now. So, let's see how this works, though, because this is so fragile.
Gizmo, you got me. Like Little Bush from a few years ago. Exactly.
We got any Letterkenny fans in the audience?
Bueller?
It's a hilarious show, first off, but they it's a live action sitcom. This guy out of Canada made it, and it's all about like Canadian stuff. But he made one season of an animated series called Little Kenny. And it's the kids. It's just kid versions of the adult characters. It's exactly what you're talking about.
That's the trope, man. More of that, please. In fact,
yeah, it started with Muppet Babies, right? I mean, that's what you're going for.
I don't even care if it did start with Muppet Babies. It did start with Muppet Babies. Yeah, the kid version is just kids, which that's something I was thinking about fairly recently. I don't know. Have we covered all the topics that we plan to cover tonight? Because I don't want to throw another curveball at you while you're nearing completion of this ATST.
No, go for it, man.
Okay.
We're just about wrapped up. We're just going to have fun with it from here on out. And I think we're good.
So
I already broke the foot, by the way. I got to fix it.
Thinking in terms of the nerdy stuff, we've all got something. We've got a show, whether it's a cartoon, animated feature, or a sitcom, or something, that we saw years ago, most likely in our childhood. It's something that we look back on fondly, and I know there's more than one, trust me, for everybody, but there's always one. You ever wake up and say, why isn't that on DVD? And then you go seeking it out and you say, this isn't as good as I remember. Like, I love Alf. Don't get me wrong. But have you rewatched Alf from the 80s recently? It really isn't good.
I did actually seek that one out a few years back, and I was like, wow, why was this so popular?
So for you and for everybody in the chat, what's your series?
Like, was everyone just like super coked out for Alf, and that's why we put up with it? Because there's a couple of those 80s shows that are like that, I think. Like, Alf is one of them. Was it Small Wonder?
Oh, wow. That one doesn't even make sense. It's called Small Wonder. She's a robot. It's a child.
Right. Like, you built a friggin' android. Like, what the hell? So anyway, this is what we're going for, by the way, with the kit. Like, it's attached. It won't stand, though. This just will not stand. So sorry to disappoint, but I'm going to put the other leg on, and we're going to use the chin rest, and hopefully, I'm using I'm holding like 4 different things at once to keep it from falling off. Because remember, the roof of this thing doesn't actually stay on. It's just gravity. So this is what we end up having. In fact, you know what? Let's dump out the overhead cam. See, that piece already broke off. So we're doing great so far. But dump out the overhead cam. Let's use the main cam for this.
All right. Let me there we go.
So I have not actually fully assembled this thing ever. I assembled pieces of it to like pre-sort it, but that was it. So this is the first time this thing has been put together start to finish.
Look at that.
It's a hell of a model. It looks fantastic. But there is no way in hell this thing would be able to support its own weight. It's just not even close.
How can we fake it? Like, could we counterbalance it with some weight in the back?
You got the chin rest. That's what the chin rest is for. Or it's actually a torso rest. It just goes right there. It's the stupidest thing. It's the stupidest thing ever.
Wow.
But it does actually work. I'll post some pictures up after this is done. I'll have to get this thing set properly.
Looks like a Chewbacca's impaled it on a pike.
Yeah, it's. But we did it. We finished the ATST.
Well done.
All right. Well, it's not falling over. It's balanced on its stand, but it's yeah.
Bring this back.
A bunch of crap, because when you buy it online, of course, they don't show the stand. So I don't know if someone super glued it for the photograph or it's all CGI, but yeah. So in fact, you know what? We're gonna break the fourth wall a little bit here.
Oh no, not the fourth wall.
So yeah, this is what we've got going on here. That's what's making it all happen, is this stupid channel of blocks. So it's not exactly the most high-tech solution, but it is a solution nonetheless.
Props to the guy that designed this thing, but that's one of those things you do when you create your own designs when you're a kid. It doesn't matter what your block or your creative toy is of choice. I was a Connects kid. I think I said that once already on a show. You always get to the end where something just doesn't work right, and rather than try to fix it or figure it out, you just build a pillar of blocks and say it's fine. It looks cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's super detailed. It's awesome in that respect. But I think I was actually considering, since this is all just kind of throwaway stuff anyway, I would never do this to genuine Lego, but I might just super glue it. If I super glue it, then it'll be able to hold itself in place because it just won't move.
Better you could...
it's all these ball joints in here that's the problem,
Give it the hanger treatment, like suspend it from some wires, like it's being worked on or something like that.
Yep.
That's
all right. So
it is a good design, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pain in the ass to build, but the finished product is really good looking.
So we did this once before. Where's the official ATST? Throw it up side by side.
The official ATST is back there. I'm too tethered. I can't get back there right now. I got a microphone plugged in, and we got a camera on. Yeah, you also get to see all my ugly build setup here. So yeah, there's all that's how the sausage is made, folks.
Oh no, a keyboard.
Right? But yeah, so we did it. We built ourselves an ATST. Now I can reveal that I already have the next build lined up for whenever we do this, which might be on a different channel. We'll see. But I like the TIE Bomber. So I'm building a goddamn TIE Bomber the next time I build one of these fan kits. Because that thing gets no love from Lego whatsoever, and it's a real tragedy.
You really doing the TIE Bomber?
So we're going to build another hunk of gray plastic, yeah. Look, we get TIE fighters all the time. We've had TIE Interceptor. The Bomber doesn't get any love, and it's really, really too bad.
See, I've always been a fan of Vader's custom TIE, which I don't know.
Oh, the TIE Advanced, yeah.
Is that the official name? I've never known.
Yep, TIE Advanced.
TIE Advanced.
Hey, when you're second in charge of the entire empire, you get to get a custom. You get a one-off.
And when I met him, he was a great pilot. So great that he put curves on his TIE fighter to increase aerodynamics in space.
Hey, and he added a hyperdrive, and I don't know, he was probably pimping back there. I mean, the guy survived in space for how long between movies?
Do we know?
I'm sure it's in a comic.
It's calling
somewhere.
Palpatine on the phone like, I'm in the middle of nowhere. What happened to the Death Star?
So anyway, yeah, so there's our ATST done. Let's punt out of that here.
Hi, everybody.
Go to the side-by-side.
Boom.
So we did it. We finished our first chill build.
Well
Success.
done. Excellent, sir.
Right? Actually, I'm sorry. This is the second chill build. Second, we got our buddy BD1 back there. BD1 was the first chill build. That one is not official Lego. Now, I said I would never build official Lego on this channel, but they did announce that they're going to do an actual BD1 kit. It comes out on August 1st. Wondering if people would have interest in watching that, or if they just want to go to official sources for that, because there's much more popular channels that are going to do it too.
Can we make an unofficial BB-8 out of a giant bouncy ball and some spray paint?
Yes.
I'm just saying that'd be a good quick one if you want to throw those in while you're at it.
Yeah, we don't have to build Lego.
Welcome to Custom BB-8 night. Looks good, guys.
All right. So we've got a mandate to do Cards Against Star Wars again coming up soon, huh?
I have mandated it, and so is Kale.
All right. I'll call that fair enough.
Tell JT he's missing out, and as busy as he says he is, there's always nights where he's not busy and he can show up. It'll be fine. I give the dude such a hard time. I'm waiting to get permanently booted from the main show, just from the main show chat. Like, I'm not gonna stop.
Oh, your patronage is appreciated.
I appreciate you guys. He still hasn't answered my question. I asked him a very simple question. I'm not allowed to bring it up here, but did you guys get to ride at Celebration?
We did not get to ride the Purgle at Celebration.
I feel like you missed out.
I didn't see a Purgle. Okay, they're very shy. They live in hyperspace, and I don't. But no, I mean, God, do you really want him to talk about Celebration more? We already went like an hour and a half on that on Wednesday, and we didn't even talk about what actually happened at Celebration. We were just talking about our own vacation stories.
And it was such a good story. I mean, you guys keep hyping it up, and then you got to end the stream with, I don't know, I think next year it's just going to be us. But then I hear that next year it's not going to be a stateside celebration. Are they doing it in Canada next year?
Right. That's right. So
I'll get your passport.
I mean, who knows going forward? But the idea is, I have my passport actually.
Well, then you're good.
Yeah, I'm good. My brother's fucked. But it looks like moving forward, it's going to be an annual thing, but it's probably going to be like one time stateside, one time international, and vice versa. So, yeah, so it's guaranteed to be like every other year in the U.S., and that's probably as much as even my brother would tolerate. So, it'll be interesting to see if that model actually works. I don't know if the Star Wars fandom can sustain an annual convention like that.
So is Celebration bi-yearly then? I thought they did it every year.
No, it's usually every 2 or 3 years. So like there was one in 2010, there was one in 2012, there was one in 2000. Okay, well, it goes all the way back to 99, but it was 99, 2002, 2005. So it came out the same years as the prequels. And then there was 2007 and then 2010. So again, 3 years. Then they did 2012. So that was, it was like 2.5 years because it was like a early in the year and then a late in the year kind of thing.
Right.
And then they did 15, 17, 19, and then they were going to do 2020, but obviously that didn't really come off because of circumstances. So this one was the make good on that. So they've been aiming for annual for a while. Oh, I'm sorry. They also did in 2016, they did one in Germany. So that was, again, that whole like US and I'm sorry, I'm mirrored here. So US in 15, Europe in 16, and US in 17.
The ocean goes this way, AJ.
Right.
Wait, I got that backwards too. It's fine. Just imagine the world is upside down.
The toilet's flushed backwards down there,
That's what they tell me, but if you flip the camera, nobody notices.
All right, we are totally off the rails. You want to bomb out here and go talk about some metal?
I mean, I've got to do it. How much you got left?
We're good to go, man. I finished this build, and that was the goal of tonight's show.
Excellent.
So, I'll put a call out to the audience again. This is WTF Friday after all. This is not the Lego Build channel. So if you've got other things you want us to do, we were talking about playing some video games on here, Cards Against Star Wars, maybe a watch along or something. Any ideas you guys got for content, drop it in the comments. We will definitely take those into consideration. What you guys want to see is what we're going to do. We have our main show, which is every other Wednesday at 8:15 on the Nerf Herder Council Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube as you're watching this right here. You can also find the Nerf Herder Council on Twitter at NHC Podcast. We're pretty active on there, so go ahead and drop us a follow on there. We'll get a discussion going. And Discuss Metal Joe, where can they find you online?
At discussmetal.com, on Twitter at discussmetaljoe. You can listen to my podcast everywhere you listen to podcasts. We've got sweet perks on Patreon, patreon.com/discussmetal.
Very cool. And if you want to support the show here, you can always go to shop.nerfherdercouncil.com for your own customizable shirts and gear. We have these fine things, such as this one. They wear in very well. As you can see, like the print kind of fades over time a little bit, but it gives it character, so it's all good. So pick your colors, pick your size, pick your garment. Just give us money. We're poor. And you can also go to audibletrial.com/NHC for a 30-day free trial and an audiobook download that you get to keep whether you stick with Audible or not. But I would highly recommend doing so. Lots of great stuff on there. My book recommendation for the month is Brotherhood, the latest Star Wars release. It covers the time right after Episode 2 and right before the Clone Wars series starts. If you ever wondered what that business on Keto Nemoidia was, that doesn't count. This is in that book. So you can follow along with that, and I think it's a really great story that actually paints in some of the details of the bond that Anakin and Obi-Wan share and when that really started to build. So with that, I am on Twitter at DrakeAdams579, and you guys have a fantastic weekend. We will catch you soon. Take care, everybody.